last part of Mahatma Gandhi and the Nationalist movement chapter, and this will be the final and the concluding part. Uh, so, starting with it, that Quit India movement, as I've written here, and it is the fourth part of this chapter, that Mahatma Gandhi had initiated his third major movement. Why was it required? Because first two were very successful and they did make a difference. They did leave an impact in the British, that yes, our rule is not going to be forever, but also an impact in the Indians and in their hearts and their minds, that we are confident, we have a leader, we are sure that independence is not a forgotten idea, and it is not just going to be restricted to the elite of India. How Mahatma Gandhi initially had mentioned elite phenomena, Indian nationalism, it is no longer that. If we even talk to our parents, we discuss to our grandparents, if we have the privilege to know stories about independence, either some of them will ever share with you that maybe not them, so their great grandparents or their grandparents or anyone from their village was actually participating in the national movement. Somebody or the other person had a role to play. So that is very exciting to know that it is not very distinct, that and no one was away from this collective feeling of belongingness to one soil and one nation. And when this movement had started, all what Gandhiji wanted was support from every other part of the country. And because Congress was largely and one of the major political parties and was representing major parts of the country, it wanted that Muslim League should also support. However, Muslim League at the time when the Quit India movement was happening, they were doing something else. वो कुछ और ही कर रहे थे. उस समय वो अपना इन्फ्लुएंस पंजाब में, सिंध में इन्फ्लुएंस ज़्यादा बढ़ा रहे थे, जहाँ पे एक्चुअली उनका इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं था. ये बहुत सरप्राइजिंग है कि आज वो पार्ट्स पाकिस्तान का पार्ट हैं, एंड पार्ट्स ऑफ पंजाब एंड पार्ट्स ऑफ सिंध, नॉट टुडेज पंजाब, इट वॉज वेरी बिग, द पार्ट वॉज प्रोविंस वॉज लार्जर, तो उसके पार्ट्स और सिंध के पार्ट्स आज पाकिस्तान में हैं. तो ये बहुत सैड पार्ट है कि जहाँ पे उनका इन्फ्लुएंस ही नहीं था, वो इतना प्रोफाउंडली बढ़ गया कि एक देश के टुकड़े हो गए और पार्टीशन हो गया. एंड दिस इज़ नॉट व्हाट गांधी जी वांटेड, एंड ही वाज इवन आफ्टर व्हेन ही गॉट अरेस्टेड, एंड देन व्हेन ही वाज रिलीज्ड इन जून 1944, ही स्पोक टू Jinnah, to the leaders of Muslim League, that please try and come to a resolution. कुछ करके हम एक ऐसी कंक्लूजन पे पहुँचें कि हम लड़ाई ना करें, हम पार्टीशन ना करें, क्योंकि पार्टीशन एक सोल्यूशन नहीं है. प्रॉबेबली मुस्लिम लीग के लिए एक सोल्यूशन था कि हमें एक सेपरेट एरिया मिल जाएगा, हम अपनी पॉलिटिकल गवर्नेंस चलाएंगे, हमारी सरकार होगी, हमारा प्राइम मिनिस्टर होगा, हमारा होम मिनिस्टर होगा, हमारा ये होगा वो होगा. लेकिन उन लोगों ने यही नहीं सोचा कि जब पार्टीशन होगा तो कितने लोग मरेंगे, कितने लोगों की फैमिलीज अलग हो जाएंगी, क्या सब लोग रेडी हैं. It was completely a political move and not what the people of India wanted. So yes, parts of Bangladesh from the eastern part is from the parts of Bengal area. So these areas were where the influence of Muslim League was growing immensely, being spread. So this was one approach which Muslim League was taking at that time. Further moving ahead, that Gandhi ji was of this view that this is one moment, one crucial movement, that if we are moving ahead with after conducting two successful movements, non-cooperation salt march, the British were this sure that they are not going to last forever. And when Gandhiji is initiating the Quit India movement, Gandhiji was also sure, even the British were sure, that this will gain a lot of support and momentum. Then how would the movement by the Indians would grow more stronger if we also get the support of the Muslim League? Because after all, everybody is fighting for independence, and as this is the core of the Indian culture and the Indian conscience, that it has always been a secular soil. Every religion has, with unity, with peace and with harmony, coexisted. And for a political benefit, and political ideology or political differences have created this faction and the situation of riots, which Gandhiji was not foreseeing, or even if he had foreseen, he was not supportive of this view. And Muslim League and partition uh, was not one idea which Congress or Nehru or Gandhi had either supported. This part that Gandhiji made several attempts that to make Congress and Muslim League to sit together on a table, understand, share, communicate your demands, resolve through any means, but not be divided and ask for a separate state. Where the Muslim League thought that they were trying to submerge their ideas, submerge their demands, or not consider the Muslims at par with the Hindus, considering the Hindus above and the Muslims down. Their issues were not considered more important. However, that was not what the aim of Mahatma Gandhi was. This is one of the reasons why, and probably India being the only country which is being partitioned or divided on the religious grounds. Whichever war in the country or in the world which has been fought would have been fought on minerals, on resources, on money, on any other point but religion. And this is one of these reasons where the religious war had divided the nation. And yes, it was not a time of peace. It was definitely when people were supporting Gandhiji. There were a lot of people who were also supporting Muslim League, specifically in the areas of Punjab, Sindh, and Bengal. So the cabinet mission also came to India in 1946. They also came there to understand the Congress, to understand the Muslim League, what will be the structure of the country, if we will give you independence, what kind of governance, what kind of federal structure would you be preferring to work in. But this was not the place or not the part which Muslim League was actually agreeing to. It was an inconclusive डील. इनकन्क्लूसिव मीन्स यू आर नॉट कमिंग टू अ कंक्लूजन. कोई कंक्लूजन नहीं निकला, कुछ आउटकम नहीं निकला बातों का. बातचीत करी, बताया, ब्रिटिश से भी लोग आए, कैबिनेट मिशन आया, गांधी जी बैठे, लॉर्ड माउंटबेटन जो लास्ट वाइसरॉय थे इंडिया के, वो भी बैठे कि चलो बैठते हैं, इनको फिर से समझते हैं क्यों लड़ाई हो रही है, इस चीज़ को क्या रिजॉल्व किया जा सकता है या नहीं, हम ऐसे ही इंडिया छोड़ देते हैं इंस्टेड ऑफ डिसाइडिंग कि हम एक पार्टीशन कर लें. सो दिस द पॉइंट इज़ दैट द मुस्लिम लीग वॉज डूइंग इट फॉर इट्स ओन पोलिटिकल इंटरेस्ट. लेकिन इस पोलिटिकल इंटरेस्ट में जिन लोगों की जानें गईं, क्या वो पॉलिटिशियंस थे? क्या वो लोग थे जिनकी फ़ोटोज़ हम आज देखते हैं एज नेशनल लीडर्स? नहीं, वो हम जैसे आम लोग थे, innocent Hindus and Muslims, people belonging to different parts of the country, people of different religion or different faith or different culture, who might not have foreseen it or supported it. उनके लिए तो ये था ही नहीं ना. रातों रात अगर आप एक रेखा खींच देते हैं दो जगहों के बीच में कि लाहौर पाकिस्तान में चला जाएगा, अमृतसर इंडिया में आ जाएगा. When you do that, just imagine there were people living, coexisting in those places. Families were existing in these places for years, for centuries. And when at one stroke, when they make such monumental change and drastic, and I would say a destructive difference when they make it did not make difference to the people who were actually asking for. Today we might say that, what if the demands of the Muslim League were fair, but were they actually on the right terms? Were they actually on the terms of freedom? Were they actually on the terms there were other Muslims who were also staying in the country and who resorted to stay with the other religions of India. They decided to stay in India. But the political will, the political interest कि हमें पाकिस्तान बनाना है, हमें एक इस्लामिक नेशन बनाना है. लेकिन कई मुस्लिम्स थे जो इंडिया छोड़ के नहीं गए, जिन्होंने सोचा कि ये प्लान और ये आइडियोलॉजी कहीं या किसी भी तरीके से सक्सेसफुल नहीं रहेगी. एंड दिस इज़ नथिंग बट द ब्रिटिश एक्सटेंडेड पॉलिसी ऑफ डिवाइड एंड रूल. तो ये तो कभी भी एक जो प्री पार्टीशन या प्री एंट्री ऑफ ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी कभी हुई थी, उससे उस समय के भारत को तो कभी मैच नहीं कर सकता ये स्टेट. तो टू अराइव ऑन दैट कंक्लूजन वॉज वेरी डिफ़िकल्ट बिकॉज द इन्फ्लुएंस of the Muslim League and the stubborn attitude of the leaders of the Muslim League made it very difficult for the National Congress to come to this conclusion. And finally, on 15th August, we see that independence is granted. On 14th of August, Pakistan was created, and Pakistan's independence was granted. Everybody was celebrating, but we see that always we have always read about this part, that Mahatma Gandhi did not celebrate. Okay, so this was one pie chart which was just to depict you. It was a basic uh, figurative understanding of what 1946 provincial legislative elections looked like. That the Muslim League said that they had spread the influence over these specific provinces, and they did get majority in those places, and the Congress got in areas which are predominantly resided by the Hindus and where the general category people belonged. So it was a stark difference that yes, people have also chosen their leaders and people have also decided what they want to do, and just changing the minds of the Muslim League may not be easily be the reason, be a way actually to change the minds of the people also who have been influenced by the Muslim League. And after this, despite sorry, after several attempts, it was inconclusive, we failed, and partition took place, and it was a bloody partition, it was a horrific partition. And we see that on 15th of August, persistent efforts, and it was a violent, aggressive partition. There were mutilation, there was sexual assault, there were riots. And 15th August, we see the Independence Day is marked, where Gandhi ji was not participating in any of the celebration, because for him and from his perspective, the point was that his people were suffering. Their people wanted independence and they wanted to celebrate, they wanted it to be happy, they didn't want to die for it. They've already suffered a lot. He didn't want to see his people living in refugee camps and starving for food, for water, for work. And these were actually people, if you would ever meet someone who has or whose family has gone through the traumas of partition, they will tell you that it was very difficult for them to even survive in those times, in those areas. They were living in tents, they were living in refugee camps, and the houses which they had, their places which they lived in, they were well off. Many of them were well off, many of them were living in good places, in good houses, in good condition. And now they are put at streets where they don't have water, where they don't have clothes, they probably don't know where the rest of their family members are, they are divided from their relatives. Imagine the psychological trauma which it continued till generations. It was not that easy, and probably Gandhiji had foreseen that it is not going to be easy. Just drawing one line over this part of the area and the sufferings of the people of these area, it will be extremely difficult to survive. So he was in Bengal, he was in Calcutta, he was with the people of Bengal. He was requesting them, praying for peace, that whatever has happened, you have to move forward, but with peace and harmony, exactly how we coexisted earlier. These are a few instances, anecdotes where which are being quoted by biographers, where he was said that what Gandhiji did was he was appealing to the Sikhs, Hindus, and the Muslims to forget the past and not dwell on their suffering, but to extend the right hand to fellowship to each other and to determine to live in peace. So this is exactly what he was doing. And again, I am telling you, and I mentioned this thing to you, that this chapter is not all about his contribution, but is a reflection and an introduction to the character and personality of Gandhiji. If a person or a stalwart like him is not celebrating, is hoisting the flag, or is bursting crackers and having mithais and pedas, he's rather going to places where people have died, where people are in refugee camps and they're suffering, and they don't know where their mother is, their father is, they don't know where their relatives have gone, they don't know what is going to happen, how will they live, where their house has gone, why are they being burnt up, they don't know. And in this state of turmoil, How can a national leader who has fought for independence, truly a national leader who has fought for independence, enjoy, celebrate? So, this may seem as a happy day, but it was actually one of the days which would have not been very celebratory for the people who had suffered. So these are parts where you can just actually read how he was living. He went to particular places from Delhi to Punjab, but Gandhi ji was facing a lot of accusations, a lot of criticism for the fact that it was just him going to specifically the Muslims maybe in Bengal and trying to reconcile, trying to pacify, trying to give them confidence. What about the Hindus? And what about the Hindus who are suffering in Pakistan? We never spoke about them. What about the Muslims who are suffering in Delhi? What about the other communities? He has never stood as strongly with the other communities, and this actually grew a lot of hate amongst these particular communities like the Hindus and the Sikhs, that Gandhi ji has not come out as strongly to support the Hindus and the Sikhs as he came out to support the Muslims, particularly. And this was defended from his end by his biographer, stating that he did not have the courage to look into their eyes and say that with what face and um, with what strength that he would go and talk to them and say that everything will be fine. He doesn't have that strength. He can't gather that strength. However, that was debated. It is till date considered controversial, but this is undeniable that his contribution can never be ignored. And finally, we read that this day, where usually even in our schools, even in a lot of offices, where we ensure that 2 minutes of silence is made and we pay tribute to the father of the nation, was the reason that on 30th of January 1948, Nathuram Godse had assassinated Gandhiji. And it was these feelings of hatred, of being unsatisfied by the leader, well, not justified, but I don't know, there was one psychological end to what he did, and there was one side which definitely couldn't support Nathuram Godse's idea, because assassination is no solution, and assassination is no end to the peace, or is no solution to get the peace and harmony. So it was nothing but just a criminal act where he thought that it could have been a solution to what he wanted, or probably what his ideological belief wanted. But the stature of Gandhiji, this how big stalwart he was, his believers didn't stop believing in him. The respect for him has always increased, that today also we are reading about him, we are understanding his mindset, his perspective, his contribution, his personality. And that is exactly what his contribution has been. And this is the paragraph which we are dealing with, that there were other eminent personalities abroad who had given their condolences and shared their perspective and their opinions on Gandhiji. And it is very interesting to read about that this Time magazine, which had once mocked about Gandhiji, was now reporting about his death and talking that the assassination was not a fair call and is not a solution to anything what they were expecting them. The last part is which we can understand, that how we should study, that whatever we have studied about Gandhiji, where do we find this information from? How do we know about Gandhiji? We didn't have social media then, we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have Google. Then how did we know about Gandhiji? So number one thing is that in no particular order, that whatever has been reported in the newspapers at that time, because newspapers were then, like the Hindu is one such newspaper which has been read widely right now and is one of the acclaimed newspapers, was publishing information since pre-independence era. Indian Express and like we were reading about Time magazine, so international and national newspapers and journals and magazine were reporting. So their archives, we have their information. Then we have the speeches which were being delivered by Gandhiji, people who have seen him, who have recorded it, who have written it somewhere, probably in their books, who have mentioned in other places. We have the collection from there, the thoughts of people, the letters which he wrote. So in this chapter itself, if you would see that the parts of letters, though I have not dwelled deeply into what has been written into the letters, but this will be a suggestion and a request to you that if you will read this, then it will just increase your understanding that how he was expressing his thought processes, how he was expressing his ideology, how his anxiety was he when he used to get stressed. So this part you see that Nehru ji had edited a collection of letters written to him during the national movement, a bunch of old letters. So this is an important information that even Nehru had edited a collection of letters which were written to him. And now we see that autobiographies, like we have read about Louis Fisher. We were just above, probably we were reading about other biographers who have written about on Gandhiji, and numerous authors actually. Their information, their sources are also relevant when we study that. Then through the police eyes, this means that the relevant government records, because if you recall, if we were studying about the Dandi March and the Dandi movement, the Salt March, wherever he was heading towards, they were reporting. This is one such example. Like you read about this, central provinces. Arrest of Mr. Vallabhbhai Patel caused little excitement except the Congress circles, but a meeting organized by the Nagpur Congress committee to congratulate Gandhi on the start of his march was ended by a crowd of over 3,000 people at Nagpur. Small details, exactly what has happened, they were being reported, they were being recorded. That where is he heading to, who has been arrested, who has said what. So like this, at various places, this was being recorded. So these records are also important. By these records, we may not know that was he a good leader or a bad leader, but we know this thing, there were a lot of people who were supporting him. Big political leaders, industrialists, and definitely the peasants and the farmers and the people of this country. Large parts, mass support from the people of this country, and the newspapers, as I had discussed. These sources are enough to depict his contribution. This I have highlighted as very important is that when you have read this chapter, we have completed this chapter, please do go through this. It will be very, very, very easier. So today we have started from this part. 1942 Quit India movement. 1946 he visits Namkoli, right on a parts of to stop the communal violence and all this thing. 16th August we also saw the direct action day, which was initiated by Jinnah. 47 we have Independence Day. But prior to this we were also covering these years. So if you feel that you have missed something, not gone into the details of it, at least these years, these events, अगर आपको ये पता है तो आपको 95% ऑफ दिस चैप्टर पता है. अगर आपने ये टाइमलाइन कवर कर ली है, ये इवेंट्स कवर कर लिए, इनकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग कवर कर ली है, तो अगर आप आंसर राइटिंग जब करोगे तो कर सकते हो. आप एक बड़ा आंसर या एक छोटा आंसर, एक MCQ अटैम्प्ट कर सकते हो. बट आई विल ऑलवेज रिक्वेस्ट यू दैट ये वीडियोज़ जब आप पढ़ते हो, जब आप सुनते हो, डेफिनेटली यू आर लिसनिंग टू देम, यू आर वॉचिंग देम, आप समझ रहे हो चैप्टर, लेकिन चैप्टर रीडिंग आपको करनी पड़ेगी. यू कैन नॉट रिजॉर्ट टू नोट्स. जस्ट डू नॉट रिलाई ऑन द नोट्स विच यू गेट ऑनलाइन, या जो सिर्फ उन्हीं पे रिलाई मत करो, क्योंकि सब कुछ NCERT से ही बनता है. और अगर आप NCERT पढ़ लोगे तो आपको उनकी ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. आप अपने खुद के नोट्स भी बना सकते हो. So that's all. Please do comment any other chapter which you've requested, and that's all from my side. Thank you for watching till the end.